Headlines this morning. Nigerians encourage corruption, says June 1st of the Punch newspaper. And Nigerian Gardeners Forum calls for Okonjo Iweala's resignation. Page 2 of the Punch newspaper.
The dailies every day on Core TV News.
Let me quickly run you through top stories making headlines on some of Nigerian newspapers. I have the Vanguard, the Guardian, as well as the Punch full review this morning. It's just 3 days to December and it's getting more interesting on the front pages of the papers. On the Vanguard this morning, why Jonathan has failed to defeat Boko Haram, OBJ. The writers here says president has poor understanding of insurgents, naked corruption has killed Nigeria's economy. And the front page picture shows clearance, President Goodluck Jonathan on the left collecting his provisional clearance certificate from the chairman of PDP Presidential Screening Committee, Dr. Ahmadu Ali, at the PDP National Secretariat in Abuja. Also present there, I believe, was Abdul Tafawa Balewa. I'm interested in knowing what the result of the primary election would be between Mr. President and Abdul Tafawa Balewa. But other top stories here on the front page of the Vanguard. Those who climbed National Assembly fence were thugs. That's coming from the Inspector General of Police. Refuses to address Tambuwal as Speaker. You get details of that on page 9. And we'll also show you sight and sound in the course of the program today. CBN to withdraw 500 billion naira from banking system. That's on page 8. Buhari's aircraft denied landing at Makurdi Airport. Page 8 of the Vanguard. Let's find out some sports stories at the back of this paper. NFF can fire Keshi, says Elegbeleye. Paul Bassi calls for Keshi's replacement, and Victor Moses ruled out until 2015. Amashe Meka blast NFF over Keshi. You get details of on page 61. This Keshi guy is a tough guy. I mean, if I were to be Keshi, I'll be out of here by now. Let's find what the Guardian has to offer now on the front page. OPEC moves to stop oil price fall. Meets today. The rider stakeholders divided over devaluation of Naira. So what's up? When was the last time you visited the market? You were there yesterday. I hope the prices have not skyrocketed yet. The front page picture here shows Mr. President collecting his clearance certificate from the chairman of the PDP. And that picture seems to, of course, we saw that also on the Vanguard. IGP's failure to address Tambuwal as Speaker stalls probe into crisis. Apologizes to Nigerians for police conduct. Says APC's threat was responsible for security operatives' presence. Insists thugs invaded National Assembly complex. Tear gas accidentally discharged. Interesting side of the story. Well, our final point of call would be the Punch. And the front page picture shows the man in the eye of the storm himself, the IGP, Sulaiman Abba Adamidu, at the investigative hearing by the House of Reps Committee on Police Affairs over last week's police invasion of the National Assembly. It's not right to call Tambuwal a speaker. That's what IG is saying. Defense police invasion of National Assembly. Senate sets up panel to probe Abba. Obasanjo blasts Jonathan again. That's on page 2 of the Punch. Devaluation. Banks face losses on borrowed funds. Page 33 of the Punch. And federal government to buy 9.2 billion naira cooking stoves for women. Page 9 of the Punch. Now, one of my colleagues this morning was really angry about that amount of money, 9.2 billion naira for cooking stoves. Well, you might want to find out details of that story. We brought you an update also earlier yesterday. I'm joined now in a live studio by a veteran public affairs analyst, Otunba Olabode Oseni. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us today.
Good morning, Ifemi. Good morning, everybody.
How do you feel today?
I'm great.
Great.
It's okay.
Look, on the front page of the Vanguard, why Jonathan has failed to defeat Boko Haram. It's like the 18th time that we'll hear the former president slam Mr. President again. It says president has poor understanding of insurgents. Naked corruption has killed Nigeria's economy. And it goes on and on like that. Obasanjo, former president Olusegun Obasanjo, is a member of the National Executive Committee. I mean, he's still part of this government, isn't he?
Obasanjo is not okay. You're talking of the Elder Forum.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you should know better.
National State of Council, or what do you
Yeah,
call that?
you should know better. And that's why I have suggested many times. Also, I was on TVC a couple of days ago, and I suggested we have 5, in fact, including Obasanjo, make it 6 living former head of states. And I think 5 of them are former generals in the army. So you can see how rich the pool of people we can use to deal with the problem of terrorism and insurgency, more so when it comes to the negotiation level. When in between, it was issue of do we negotiate or we don't negotiate. And then subsequently, now we landed at airfield of we are going to negotiate. We are even have negotiated.
That's right.
We have even agreed on truce. So my contribution to that is, if we have gone so far, we might as well also make a progress to the next level by getting people whom we believe are former head of states. When you look at their status, an average negotiation team of the terrorists will have respect for these people.
But we keep seeing these faces attending this particular state council meeting. For instance, the former president also is still a member of the People's Democratic Party. Are bothered why discussions like this should be done on the front pages of the papers, given the level. I mean, you can't compare the level of audience that someone like former President Obasanjo would have of Mr. President and someone like me. Come on.
Yeah.
So why would Obasanjo come to bear his mind publicly at this time?
I came also with saying here, it seems to me that people at the high echelon there, this has not been disrespectful to anybody. We have stopped thinking. The country, the people have stopped thinking. We just like we saturated. We've been at a point and say, you know what, whatever comes, comes. Whatever goes, goes. So there's no reason why we should continue to plan for the future. And we are now putting the future of our children in jeopardy now, as it is. So coming to the point you are raising there, I also remember not long ago when President Obasanjo, either out of anger, out of frustration, said, do you want me to intervene? As we speak, there's no concrete response from the presidency. Okay. I'm not speaking for any of them, but at the same time, but I want to go back to the point I was trying to make. At the meeting of the state's former head of state, whatever, I mean, issues like this should be paramount. It should be number one. The security. You see, number one preoccupation of any government anywhere in the whole world is to protect. Is number one. Anywhere in America, in Canada, in Germany, anywhere, is to protect lives and property of the country, of the people of that country. Because it's only when they are protected, then they can start thinking of how to invent, how to do this, how to do that. But here we have it. We are so naked. We are so openly. You understand me? We Nigerians have no protection in any form or shape. We are deprived of virtually everything.
Okay.
So this should be the main. This should be the main topic of agenda whenever and anytime the former head of states meet. Look, our people are suffering. This is what is going on, Mr. President. You should look into this. You should look to that. Again, I keep making examples of other countries. Over there in Europe, the head of churches, mosques, in the UK, for example, will open after they will go either straight to the Prime Minister and say, Mr. Prime Minister, so and so is going on. People are having so and so problem. We need to solve it. But here it is a case of the churches' aims and agenda is something different. Because the more they put pressure on the presidency, I can imagine that the presidency has loads and loads of things on his plate. So, but you'll be able to now to listen. When people like former head of states are talking to me, the wisdom. I must listen.
But let's quickly, sorry for cutting you there, but let's look at the content of what former president is saying. For instance, he said, and I quote, that it took even the president more than 3 years to appreciate and understand what it is a terrible mix of poor education or lack of education, misinterpretation of what Islam and the Quran teach and stand for, poverty, unemployment, and all of that. Then he also says, I have always maintained that solution to Boko Haram or any organization like it lies in application of stick and carrot approach. You must remember that there is nexus between security and development. But these are all of the policies that the Goodluck administration has also attempted to introduce. There was a time they called for a dialogue. There was a time they extended an olive branch to members of the Boko Haram. There's an reintegration, rehabilitation process going on. There is helping people who are victims of, I mean, it doesn't sound different from what is being engaged presently by the present administration. How do you fix all of this?
Well, again, let me start by saying the president does not need to be an expert in everything. His job is to coordinate, to harness, to put together the best in everything he can get. Because the constituency, his constituency is the whole country. Even if he thinks, he chose to go and bring Okonje Iweala from World Bank. Is that all right? To come and do what? To come and head the Ministry of Finance. If he believes one of our boys or one of our people is capable of doing the job of tackling the problem of security, insurgency, and so on and so forth, is in Germany, go get him. It's just like when it comes to playing international football. What do? Don't we recall our boys? Is that not right? So he has, the president has all these resources he can tap into. But let me go back to President Obasanjo, not being again. Yoruba people say when you see somebody carrying a load and the load is either shift to the left or the right, and you now accuse, why are you carrying your load is so to that side? He say no, it's not the load that's that side. Look from the foundation. Usually they have their key leg. The problem of the present government and the subsequent one has always been the continuation. So none of them can go scot-free by not taking full responsibilities. And also, I remember also very well, with all humility, when I said, yes, Baba said when he was going, he left so much money. And I said, for what? You left so much money in the cover of the country to do what? When people have no food, when they have no light, when there's no roads, when there's no education, when there's nothing, why are you saving that kind of money for? And I also want to say, Papa, when you are going, did you remember to put policies in place to make sure that whoever comes after you, this is a constructive criticism. We're not being disrespectful. And I said it also, if this morning you left your home, you probably must have remembered to lock your door, unless your wife and the children are home, and say, even when they are going out, you must insist that they lock the door.
Is it even possible for us to put the blame of insecurity on this present administration without going back in time to visit past leadership?
For
instance, what has happened to the Nigerian... That's what I'm saying. What has happened to the Nigerian military? The idea of borrowing $1 billion now, they say it has been as a result of neglect of this arm for a very long time.
That's exactly what I'm trying to say. And also, we don't need to do any rocket science here. An average person, even those who cannot buy a whole newspaper, they form a kind of arrangement, standing by, paying 15 naira to read the newspaper. And we have seen it many times that most of the equipments supplied to our own military boys cannot meet the standard of the insurgent people. So how do we explain that? Are we being rude to anybody here? Isn't it a fact? Isn't that the situation that you ask some of our boys to go and attack Boko Haram, and they get there to find out that they cannot meet the power force of the insurgent people. So all these are so yes, the foundation laid by the government before today, and that's why sometimes I show sympathy for the present government, because if the foundation were 100% properly were in place, so all what he needs to do is to nurture, to make sure that what is already in place, you cannot shift it. Why is it possible that Obama can rule America? Why is it possible that you can go to America tomorrow, become American, and you can rule America? Anybody can rule America. Anybody can be prime minister of the UK.
You're saying it's a function of the system?
Yes, the systems are already in place. They are there. You cannot change it. You cannot change anything in the UK. You can bring your style, you can bring your whatever, but you cannot change the system that is already foundation. They are pillars. You cannot change it. The dog can go there and rule.
It's all right. Let's come back home to find out what the interest of former President Olusegun Obasanjo might be in all of this. Of course, you must have heard about the consultation going on. You see APC members go to meet him. There was even a news we took recently that talked about the Ogun State governor, the PDP in Ogun State, saying that, well, this relationship that you think you have with OBJ cannot save you in 2015. There's a lot of interesting dimensions of that story. But let us also recall the letter that OBJ sent to Mr. President, talking about Goodluck Jonathan having signed or having agreed not to go for a second term. Do you think we can justify all those positions that the former president has taken now as we begin to relate it to his interest in the 2015 elections?
It's again, that might be my own conclusion. I can see that we are still playing politics of primitiveness. We are still very primitive. That's what I'm going to say about that. And what I mean by that is, we should never forget that former President ABC, they are citizens of this country. Yes, no doubt about it, that they were at one time or the other #1 citizen of this country, that would probably be more prominent, had seen or doing things than you and I. But we should also not forget the fact that once you are in government, you must bring your own people, your own approach. Like I said, the system cannot be changed. The system or rule of law must be in place.
Okay.
Because if those things are not in place, that is why you now find dysfunctionalities among what is going on, around us. And also, the former head of state calling and saying things or writing letters, as far as I'm concerned, is a citizen of this country, is entitled. You could also write a letter to them. But then, when you write a letter and you want to back it up by action, I think it is now up to the ordinary citizen of this country to see, because it's also in that letter. There are also a couple of things that are also can be used against the former head of state. Let us face it. Paragraph 13. To quickly refresh my memory. I remember very well reading everything. As a part of that letter, also is an area that can be used to make problem with the former head of state. Because where he said he has always, you understand me, chosen. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So what are we talking about here? But what is important to me is ordinary people should wake up. They should get the message that we all have one vote. He has one vote. And also there's a limit to where you can quickly call us and say, he was there for 8 years. Other people are now going through their term. Okay. And they cannot continue to call us to do certain things which they are not doing. Nigerians are now waking up. Nigerians are now becoming more conscious. They now see that, we tried that. Now the business of structure of the stomach or the whatever, it is not working anymore. Now they're now waking up from their slumber. They now say that now this time around 2015, we want to choose a leader that will be that person that will do the job for us.
The last time the former president wrote a letter, there were opinions that we should start looking at the message and not the messenger. But over time, it's probably becoming very difficult to be able to consider the message without also considering the messenger in this case. Now, the former president went ahead to also blame the Jonathan administration for what he called a naked display of corruption, thereby hampering the nation's economy. Now, I'm quoting him now. He said, "Our continued heavy dependence on one commodity has not adequately prepared us against any shock in a one commodity in that one commodity in the international plane? I'm sure he's referring to the present fall in oil price internationally.
Yeah, good. Now it's some analysts will also agree with me that all along, for some silly reasons, we have chosen not to tap into other resources. The more or less the only country that is so blessed with all natural resources is Nigeria. There are some other things, if we have tapped into it, oil will just be number 3. But we have chosen not to. But then again, the question is, what have we been doing with the billions of dollars that we have that are accrued, that we have earned from oil? So the corruption is also not the corruption of yesterday. Corruption has always been the corruption of many years back. But the thing is, what has the subsequent government or president done about it? And also, there's this now big mixed up in this country, where you have presidency dictating the terms, calling the tunes, doing whatever he likes, making sure that other organs, other bodies that's clearly stated in the constitution that's supposed to be serving the state, the country, is now become the direct appendix of the presidency. All these are also not going well for the good development of this country. This is also not good for us, because as it is now, and I'm into making examples of what is obtainable in other countries. Yeah, that we cannot see where Obama will now dictate and say the police should do certain things, or the police should be sitting down and calling who should do what and so on. It is not on, because the job of police is to take order from the overall boss to make sure that everything is in place.
Do you see any relationship between this allegation of corruption and insecurity in northeastern Nigeria?
Again, it is a very difficult, because corruption is like a corruption stare at all our faces. We see corruption. Even in the Danfo, where you go in the Danfo, if you're not careful, I was in Danfo a couple of days ago, and the Danfo driver was asking me second time to pay, and I said, hello. So is it this corruption or being clever? Or when you get, the corruption everywhere, even our schools, in our ministries, everywhere, in employment, planning, and so on and so forth. So, of course, corruption will affect everything we do. Because if it is not corruption, a good example of, if a contractor gets a contract of X amount of millions, and now before even he get the first release of the mobilization fee, corruption has already eaten into the whole money. So the man look at it and say the road is supposed to build, he cannot afford to build it, because all along, most of the money he needs to do that is already been eaten by corruption. So that is why you find so many abandoned projects. So, and like I said, even in WAEC, in different offices, in different places, there's corruption. So what do we do about it? We are not doing anything about it, but to enlarge it, to make it bigger. And everybody is for themselves. It is a case of me, myself, and I.
We're counting down to 2015 elections now. There's much talk about how critical the situation in the country is for any leadership, call it PDP or APC. We're talking about insecurity in the name of terrorism. Now it has turned economic as regards the fall in oil prices, and of course we have an election in few months. In your opinion, what role do you think past governors, past presidents like OBJ and all other stakeholders, what role do you think they have to play at this particular time?
Well, I will have also, I want to bring the Southwest people ideology or belief that if you beat your child, if your child disobeys you or does something wrong, and then you tell him off or you beat him, yeah, at the same time you beat him with the right hand, then use the left hand and to draw him, and then sit down and talk. So we all have a role to play, and our role as in the media is to educate the ordinary people now, to educate them, to make sure that they at least vote for the person or the party that they believe that will do the job. Because at the end of the day, as it is, all the role of the former head of this world should be doing is to find a way of sitting down, and that's also bring me to issue
Let me
of,
just hold you for a minute. I believe we have a caller online. Good morning, Polycarp.
All right. Hello.
Good morning. Go ahead with the contribution.
Hello.
We're with you. Please go ahead with the contribution.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Terrific.
All right. Please, I just want to make a few a contribution to the discussion that is going on. We're talking about insecurity. We're talking about the state of the nation. And I heard our elder statesman, they're making certain statements talking about foundational problems, making references to past leaders having not laid good foundations. But I want to make this contribution that for some of us, I think we have to blame the present administration, because you have a family, sir. If you did lay a good foundation in your family, it's expected that your child should correct the mistakes that you made in the past. It is not expected that your child should come and build on your past mistakes and make them critical. So if the past administrations have made certain mistakes, we shouldn't criticize on them. For example, I've been in this nation, I've been a young man growing up. I have never seen a situation where the people that are saddled the responsibility of protecting the integrity of the citizens of this country arrive at the National Assembly and attack it, and the lawmakers. I have not seen that before. So where is the foundation coming from? We have never seen the kind of things happening like in the where 7 members of the political party sit down and have agreed a proposed impeachment of 19 members that they don't even form a quorum. They are not up to 2/3 of the majority of the state. Where is this coming from? We should be able to ask these questions. We never saw this kind of bastardization of the rule of law during Obama's administration. We are not saying it was not there, but at least it was done in such a way that you could not press it. Not like now when it is so bad that you can press it and link it to certain things. It is out of place. We have one country. This country is Nigeria, and it's all ours. And I feel that we should be able to protect it. If these people didn't do the best, that's why our present administration, presidency is there to correct the mistakes of the past. That's the truth about it. So you shouldn't criticize it. We shouldn't criticize our situation as much as we are trying to look at. So this is what I think I want to be able to make. And then to a great extent, we're talking about we are in the Middle Belt. I was in Yola just some few days ago. You see the situation very bad, very critical. You see human beings in the mountains, and it's bad. Nobody is saying anything about it. The insurgents are fighting. Our military and our police force cannot contend them. But the same police force that cannot contend insurgents are fighting lawmakers that are supposed to legislate for the well-being of the nation. So where is all this coming from? So I think the presidency has a responsibility to correct the past.
That's all right.
If Obama is really well in Nigeria today, it's his responsibility. He has taken responsibility. It's not just about the foundation. You can lay a good foundation, but somebody can come and blow that foundation. So I think that's the point I want to make. Thank you so much for giving me access. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you, Polycarp, calling from Benue State. Good to have you join us. But let's move a step ahead of all of this.
Okay.
It quickly touched on Yobe, and you recall that the presidency has requested for an extension in emergency rule in this 3 northeastern states. There are reports that the House of Reps are already rejected that bid, but the Senate is still yet to sit as regards that particular position. What way forward before the elections in 2050? Because there are different opinions now. Some are saying that if elections do not hold at this part, whoever wins cannot pride himself as being the president of a complete Nigeria, because a section of the nation did not participate in that electoral process that brought such into power.
Well, I can see. Let me quickly, just 1 second, address the last caller's issue of foundation. And I think there was a mix up there. There was a misunderstanding.
Okay.
The foundation I'm talking about is the system, the three pillars of governance, if they are properly put in place, like in America and so on and so forth. That is the foundation I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the foundation that, of course, it's right to say if your father builds a nice house, a nice foundation, and so on and so forth, and from nowhere you choose not to get a good education, to get the backup, and now you join the auction. You know, you can turn around to become, you can destroy whatever is built. I don't want to disagree with that, you know. So, but now coming to this issue of the situation in Yobe and other places where the Boko Haram are now claiming to be in charge, it is a very sad situation, and that is why I said, and I repeat, and I repeated it many times, that we should have done more. We could have done more. We have the resources to attack insurgency, to attack terrorism in this country. And so much billions of dollars, which is in trillions, have gone into all this. An average person cannot see, I mean, government cannot show anything for all this money. And that is very sad. And that's why I also brought the idea of using our former head of state or whatever to find a way of reaching out to these people. Because destroying, killing and maiming and, you know, lives and property, it is not what any government can be proud of.
There was a time we heard that the former president was making progress in that area of dialogue and negotiating. We
when
also saw
eventually come with the truce.
I was referring to Olusegun Obasanjo meeting with members of Boko Haram, but we also read on the papers that he didn't get support from the presidency. The challenges are clear. We're rounding up now, but what do you think should be done at this time? Because we've heard a lot of people saying even Mr. President did not acknowledge that the Chibok girls were abducted, not until about 3 weeks of abduction. We've had a lot of criticisms here and there. Is there a definite way forward for the presidency at this time? If there is, what way to go?
As much as I want to sympathize with the president, because for a president to have surrounded himself with the type of information managers he has now, and I'm sorry, I mean, it's not the best for him, because for anybody, after 19 days to now go to the president and say, because the president was not there anyway when the abduction was taking place. But the people who now go to the world press to say it did not take place can only be his information advisors or managers and so on. They have not been doing him any good job. I can say that openly, and I need to be challenged on that.
What way forward now?
What way forward is, I still believe it is not too late. Again, I'm repeating, and I've repeated it a time. The president should reach out.
Okay.
More so when, in fact, it's the people outside is reaching to him. He should welcome. He should open his hand and welcome them in and say,
to get new ideas
yes,
and all of that.
What do we do? And what I can imagine, what they are going to suggest to him is how best to attack the problem, and how do we attack the problem by at least getting into action the mechanism, the methods, the approach, how to attack either on one side. You see, there are two-pronged things. There are two ways to do it. There are two. The first one is to talking to these people and at the same time using the force we have.
Okay. Otumba Olabode is saying, veteran public affairs analyst. Thank you very much for joining us today on Cool Digest. We'll take a short break now. When we come back, we'll take this discussions to another level. Stick around, don't go away.